Hey everyone, it's Wendy K Laidlaw here with the Ultimate Emotional Health Summit, and I'm so excited for our next guest. Our next guest is Lois Hollis, who has an amazing amount of information to share, in particular about shame and guilt. And she's a shame guilt educator, counselor, and even filmmaker. And she will share with you how you can shift your opinion on one of the most taboo subjects, i.e. shame and guilt. A lot of us don't even know that we're carrying it, but she has over 50 years experience in health, with 15 of those years researching and counseling. So she brings this fabulous new knowledge of those misunderstanding conditions and how shame and guilt is such a negative energy that may stay stored deep in our subconscious and we don't even know it's there. So Lois, it's fantastic to have you here all the way in America. How are you today?
I'm cracking the egg open.
Love it. Fantastic. Well, it's so great to have you on. And I think, you know, when we've been speaking before and engaging back and forth about shame and guilt, as we've just touched on, it's such an important, they're very important elements that could be suffocating people subconsciously. But before we delve down deep into that, perhaps you could share with people, you know, a bit about your own background and what has led you to this point.
Okay, thank you so much. I have always been an achiever and always been a trailblazer in my life. I started the first kidney hemodialysis unit in the United States here, and open heart surgery in its infancy. So I'm used to being a trailblazer, but I didn't really know that until in my 40s. I'm looking back at my life. I seemed to do well in my life, but around my 30s and 40s, I became depressed and anxious, and to the point of almost suicidal. I had lost 3 pregnancies. I have 3 beautiful children now, but that coupled with just a sense of uneasiness, depression, and I'm a very gregarious person, so it's like, what is wrong? And so I started some counseling, but I didn't want to commit suicide anymore, and I was okay, but I wasn't genuinely happy.
Yeah.
And so I was able to do well, which was surprisingly, now that I know what I was going through.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Sedona because I met a healer there that was helping me with all my injuries. I had 30 years of migraines. I had severe scoliosis that was affecting my heart and lungs. And the doctor said I probably won't live till 50 because of the severity of my heart and my incredible migraine headaches. I had to take drugs to even function.
Wow.
And I met someone that said, I can help you. And I went, okay. I moved across country. So I start healing because the person had the gift. But there was the emotional component that I still couldn't figure it out. So I decided, like, I'm tired of talking to people. I'm going to talk to myself. Yeah. And then I start talking to my anger and depression and anxiety, and they were talking back to me. It was very interesting. Long story. But I was able to find, someone asked me about shame. What do I do about shame? I said, oh, that's an odd word. Gee whiz, I'm not a detective kind of sort of mind. So I went to the library. We didn't have internet, so we went to the library. And one day I just came to me like, oh my God, life is so easy. I don't have to go through anger management. I don't have to go counseling for depression. I don't have to be so inferior to other people. Even though I accomplished so much, I had this sense of inferiority.
Yeah.
And it's all about shame. I was like, oh my God, it's so easy. I mean, not easy getting rid of shame, but easy combining all my problems. And also my physical problems were shame-based. You know, the severe scoliosis that I couldn't even pick my head up. So I found the shame and guilt within the inner personality parts of me, not me, the inner parts of me.
Yeah.
And I worked with them and they released it and I got well. I got happy. I changed. My body changed. I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. So people were like, Lois, what are you doing? I said, I'm talking to myself. And they said, can we do that? And I said, I guess. And I went, okay. So they too got well. I mean, like in maybe 2 months.
Yeah,
And then they sent their mothers and grandmothers and kids, and they too got well.
amazing.
And someone said to me, Lois, I says, what? You should charge for this. I said, charge for what? I'm just helping people talk to themselves.
Yeah.
And so then I decided, like, that's my job. I mean, like, one day I didn't decide to be a shame guilt educator. It just organically came out of me. Then
It found you.
it found me. So
Yeah.
I said, okay, that's what I'm doing. That's like 15 years ago. And then I'm a accomplished speaker, and some I was invited to different conferences, and they said, "What is your topic?" I said, "Shame again." Oh, we don't talk about that one. And I said, "I do." And they said, "Well, can you talk about joy and love and happiness?" I said, "Yeah, but you're not going to have that unless you get rid of shame and guilt." So
Yeah.
I really wasn't invited, and I just took a back seat for the last few years because it, it it just wasn't happening. So it was like, okay. And everybody said, please change the title of your book, change your um, resume. And I went, I can't lie. So I said, okay, God, whatever, whatever. And then all of a sudden the virus thing turned everything upside down, and people go, can you please talk about shame and guilt? I said, really? You want me to talk about this? And they said, oh, please. And I went, okay. And that's what happened now. So this is very exciting to finally give the information. Now, why may I continue this?
Of course. I just want to say briefly though, I love that you're talking about talking to yourself in parts, because that is a big thing that has been a latter part of my own journey, recognizing that we are not just one person, we have many parts within us. So loving you talking like that in this way, because I totally, it makes total sense. And it might seem a weird concept to people when they're first hearing this, but they'll recognize they may have they behave differently around different people in different work situations in different places, and those are different parts. So yeah, I'm loving this, Lois, so please do.
Okay, so I began talking about how I do this, and I I said, don't you see that? And then I remembered finally, I'm in my what 50s, 40, 50s, in my 50s now. And then I'm realizing I remembered I had a near death experience when I was a child from one of the abuses. My neck was broken and so forth and so on. And I was sent back. And now I remember seeing three beings all the time when I was a young child. And I just kind of forgot that. But I think, but I now I know why I was able to be a very successful, productive person with all the injuries I did have.
Yeah.
It was spirit that was, and so very grateful, for that.
Yeah.
Also, what that did was gave me um,
Were
sort
you
of a
feeling
portal.
emotional there? I could feel the emotion there as you're
Yeah,
talking.
the portal open to spirit that I've always had.
Mm.
And I just accepted it. And so I couldn't understand why people couldn't see the little kids inside of them that I can see inside of other people, only if they give permission, that kind of thing. So I had this gift of sight, but I didn't know it was a gift.
Yeah.
I thought
It's
everybody had it.
a strength of the human spirit, I think, is so underestimated. Most people don't realize the power that they have within them until
Yes.
someone can put up, have a believing mirror, or have someone at least to say, look, I can help you to help yourself.
So when I start doing the counseling, I would, help people with their interpersonality parts, and then things would happen like we're talking, and I'm going, oh, I never knew that. Spirit was giving me info. So everybody wants to know, how do I know information that's not written yet?
Yeah.
And I'm explaining to you that it was given to me. I didn't read it. I didn't go to school for that. I'm educated, but this information that was given to me to share
Yeah.
changed people's lives. So that's what I'm sharing today, is why I believe shame guilt with the new information is the way to help us finally out of the shame guilt prison we all live in.
Absolutely. And I think you're looking at you here. I mean, how young are you?
I'm 77 next week.
You're 77 years young, and look at you. You're, vibrant, great vitality, and to hear you talk about, I don't know, 30 years of migraines and all the pain, physical pain and signs and symptoms, that were going on in your body, and for you to recognize, you're able to break free of the shackles of shame, if you like, it's incredible, isn't it? Because, you have some very uncaring, sometimes medical professionals who will say, oh, it's all in your head, to people who they can't find illnesses. And again, a lot of women I work with endometriosis and things like that, they have to fight for decades to be believed. But there's so many different things going on and so many different layers. But to be able to recognize that there is shame being manifested or shame being projected. So what would you say to someone? So they're listening to this right now and they're like, wow, Lois, it's amazing. Look at you. You're 77. You've got more energy now than you've ever had at any point in your life. You've been able to kind of shake off the shackles of shame. But how would they know that that was residing in them? What would be the early kind of indications?
Any negativity you feel, any self depreciation, any guilt, any shame is that shame guilt. So what I can say to you is that I have to explain something first, mate, is that shame and guilt are the same energy, and you understand energy. Yeah. So it's really not shame and guilt, it's shame guilt, and I call it shame guilt. Yeah. Shame resides in the unconscious mind, and guilt resides in the conscious mind. Yeah. It's an energy. It is not an emotion.
That explains why people always feel guilty for everything, because literally the shame is like deeply embedded and they're always feeling guilty. Is that what you're meaning?
Guilt, I will tell you that you cannot get rid of your guilt, and that people will get very frustrated and they feel even more shameful because they can't get rid of their guilt. They do positive stuff, they do therapy stuff, and I'm telling you that it'll help you for a certain amount of leverage, but you will not get rid of the guilt. But there is a way to do it. The only way you get rid of your guilt, the guilt, not your guilt. Never say your guilt, excuse me. We're so brainwashed.
We're so conditioned, yes.
Yeah, we so are. And so you will release the guilt when you find and release the shame.
Yeah, yeah.
There are a lot of people today, even today, that say shame is bad and guilt is good. It keeps us moral. A lot of people, a lot of books, and there's a new book out, well, it was like 2 years ago. We need more shame and guilt in our culture because people are gotten, hatred and fear and all this stuff. So I'm here to tell you.
There isn't there a lot of new age stuff which doesn't really understand what the core, at the core of who we are as humans. I mean, this is where it fits into the ultimate emotional health.
We are beautiful, beautiful human beings. God created us. We have godness, we have greatness, we have everything. And all these impairment shows are right. Yeah. However, there is shame, guilt, energy on this planet. That's a whole nother story, but we won't go into that today.
No, exactly. We'll chat again. We can go in deeper on that, because I'm with you on that. I completely.
I'm inviting attendants to see the difference. Shame, guilt is a negative energy.
So if people are listening to this and they're feeling guilty about everything all the time, then what I'm hearing from you is you would say that there is a lot of subconscious shame being projected onto them, perhaps when they're still growing up.
It's all over the world. You can't blame your mother. No. You can't blame your father. You can't blame your teacher. And you can't blame yourself. That's what I want to get across today. You cannot blame yourself. The only person you can blame is the shame, guilt energy.
So where does that, so in your experience then, so if you, because obviously it's, there's a natural feeling of like, well, there's obviously a reason for it. Where is it being projected on from? And of course, culture does obviously try to get you to conform and be conditioned to certain things. And then there's people who are quite toxic, who want to power over you and control you and do so. Would that be?
And it's not even their fault, because they're carrying the shame, guilt energy. Yeah. So our enemy if you want to call it that way, is shame, guilt, energy. Now, since it's outside of us, it can be gone.
Yeah.
That's the good news. There is hope.
So it can be gone. From what I'm hearing with you and your story is that you were able to, and it might sound weird for people to understand, to even expand their mind to the concept that there are different parts within you and that there might be a shamed part, and you can actually have a conversation with those parts to hear different parts of you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, the I'm sure everyone remembers Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Okay. At the end, when Dorothy is so afraid of the awe and power of Oz,
Yeah.
Toto draws the curtain, and there's this little dinky guy with a big machine that's throwing smoke all over the place. Okay, that's shame, guilt.
Yeah.
Okay? Shame, guilt hides in secrecy. Our culture has hidden it. We are told it's bad. Don't talk about it.
Well, I guess it
But
comes from many sources, doesn't it? It comes from
oh, religion and culture and your
exactly
mother, your
religion,
father, and
school.
your
Yeah.
nationality. It's endemic. It's
And of course, there is healthy shame in inverted.
no, there is not.
I think I personally, I think it's okay to, if you do something, to feel ashamed if you've done something you probably shouldn't have done, but that's different to having projected shame and conditioned shame that's so deeply embedded.
I would say, if I may, shame guilt is a negative, bad, destructive force. There's no such thing as healthy poison.
No.
There's no such thing as healthy shame. And there's no such thing as healthy guilt. I'm helping us to evolve,
Yeah.
meaning that I want to help you move your furniture to your new home. If I don't, I'll feel so guilty. So I'm doing it because I don't want to feel guilty.
Yeah.
I would entertain, can I feel I like you as my friend? I want to help you. I really need to raise consciousness.
Yeah. Increase awareness. Exactly.
So I'm helping people to do things because it's the right thing to do. I'm doing this because I know it's my job. It's the right thing to do. That's
Yeah.
it. So we're asked, and that's what we're in. We're in an evolutionary place right now with the virus and everything happening. We're all asked, invited to evolve, and we have eternal progression. We will always evolve. There is no such thing as stagnation.
No, exactly.
We may go backwards, but our human design is called eternal progression. We will always progress. And we are invited now to do the biggest leap ever.
Absolutely.
But I would have to say that shame, guilt is a negative energy and has no good qualities. Okay, in the grand scheme of life, it was permitted on this earth for us to learn how to be stronger, because we become stronger when we have negative problems, correct? So we have built it and we have learned, and now it's time to shed it and use other things to entice us to get stronger.
Well, especially when it's affecting your physical health and your emotional health. And this is what we're doing on this summit, is really exploring what is ultimate emotional health. So how do you keep yourself from an emotional health perspective? How do you, now that you've increased your awareness, you've got this knowledge now of the shame guilt, which clearly was suffocating you and making you feel shackled, what do you do to ensure that that doesn't creep in from any other sources?
Well, I have learned, and this is what I teach, is how to recognize the shame guilt words that we use every day.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's very important.
So can you share some of those words for the listeners?
A lot of times people will say, oh, it's such a shame that it's raining today. I can't have my barbecue. Well, it's not a shame. It's sad. It's unfortunate. It would be better not to, but it's not a shame. So try taking shame and guilt out of your normal vocabulary, but use it for healing. We still got to talk about it, but
Yeah.
don't use it in your normal vocabulary. Oh, it's such a shame that I broke my ankle. Well, yeah, but it's really sad and it's inconvenient.
Yeah.
But
It's interesting. I hadn't thought of it in those terms before, because even as you're saying it, it's really interesting here you say it, because as you're saying it, I'm like, yeah, we all say that all the time, don't we? Oh, it's such a shame that didn't work out. Such a shame that, and I hadn't actually thought of the word shame in that context, just being shamed.
exactly, and
Yeah.
you're bringing shame. Well, and you understand, the words are so important, and the
Words are
words
powerful. Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
So it's sad, it's unfortunate, it's duh. It's a
It's
duh.
annoying. It's
It's
frustrating.
annoying. It's a
Irritating.
duh. Also, the word just, Just. Oh, I'm just writing you a letter to
Yes.
let you know that I'm just busy right now. Just makes us feel lesser than.
Yeah, no, it's so true. I stopped using that in the past 6 months because I've noticed that. So that's awesome that you're bringing that up.
And there's some communication experts now that are telling people don't use the word just and only and some other things that tend to devaluate us, but they don't tell you why.
Yes,
And
and
I
that's
think
it.
it's
It's self-depreciating, isn't it? And you offering this widening of explanation and expansion to what the words mean, because again, sometimes again we're just byproducts of our upbringing and conditioning, and sometimes we're just, a lot of people, especially from an emotional health perspective, are just getting by. So pardon the pun, but they're just getting by because they're struggling. So to have all these have a spotlight on those words is interesting in itself, because it really helps to shift. Like, so if I was to stop saying just, is that because would I be feel scared because, oh, I shouldn't have my opinion, shouldn't have my voice?
exactly, you're devaluing yourself. And these communication, I really recommend people searching out for these communication experts because they have a lot to say. I'm adding the why to it, and
Brilliant.
that makes it more important that you do it. That's what I'm doing. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm saying please do what they say, and this is the why it works.
I,
Okay,
I think I think like you said at the beginning, like I've got a very kind of analytical mind, a very curious mind. So I think it's good to add the why. Why wouldn't you say that? Because it provides context to people to help understand,
yes,
especially people who are listening to this summit, and they're maybe feeling like sad or down or anxious or fearful, whatever. They're having all these emotions that they're feeling. It's good when you can provide context as to how things don't just happen. There's normally a trail or rippling effect that come out from all sorts of different angles, words, conditioning, thoughts and
mm-hmm.
feelings. So that's fantastic.
And another word is okay. I texting and emails, and I'm very, very dyslexic, but I've gotten better, but I'm still dyslexic. So I goof sometimes.
Don't we all?
Yeah, but, and it's really, I want to honor people to send the proper email with the proper wording. And I really respect that, and I honor people. Uh, However, I do goof and put two A's or two B's or something, and it just goes. And I go back to the email and I'll go, oh my goodness. Okay. So I write in the next email, oops, OOPS, or da.
Yeah.
I made the wrong lettering in that word. I wanted to say this. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. I did not say, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I did not say, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Please forgive me. Really? I use the word oops or da, and people laugh
Yeah.
because,
No, but it's interesting here you talk like that, because even when you were saying I'm so sorry, you actually bent down,
yeah, I'm
your
so
shoulders
sorry.
went round, your head came down. And again, these are so subtle. Sometimes we don't even know we're doing it, or we don't
Of
know
course not. Of
until
course
we
not.
suddenly go, we suddenly might get annoyed when they go, why am I saying sorry? But what I'm scared of their reaction, or
Yeah,
keep
you're
submissive, or
trained that way.
exactly. And that all happens all pre-verbally anyway, doesn't it? That's all pre-verbal, where you're conditioned. I'm going to be getting a puppy in the next couple of weeks, and I know that I'm going to be conditioning the puppy to make sure she doesn't whittle, and she does this and does that. And we don't actually, as adults, recognize the subconscious conditioning that's controlling us, like a background operating system on a computer.
Exactly. You're right. You got a good visual. You're very visual. It really is very helpful. And I have been told, oh, you have to be sorry for doing that. And I'm going, I didn't intend to make a mistake. It wasn't like I purposely did that. it was a da. And I teach my grandkids that. They go, oh, Aja did that. I go, it's a da. Okay. So they go, Mom, I did a da.
Well, it's keeping it in proportion to everything else.
Exactly. Da. I burnt the bread in the oven. It's a da.
Yes, exactly.
So my kids, they talk to her. It's a da, Mom. It's a da.
I'm sure your grandkids love that interaction as well.
Oh yeah, because they get lit up. They don't. I'm going. It's a da. Don't worry about it. I go. What's a da? It's a da. And so that's what I use sometimes. You know, to lighten the mood.
I think it's wonderful, like what you're doing by helping the increase awareness of the shame guilt. And I like, the more you've said it, the shame guilt. You can see how they are paired.
They're twins. They're twins.
Yeah, they come together. They come as a package. And yes. I hope by having this conversation with you that people will start to think, do I feel ashamed and do I feel guilty all the time? And I know a lot of women, and I'm sure there's lots.
Everybody does.
Exactly.
Everybody.
But I think, again, culturally, women are meant to be, at the beck and call of everyone all the time, and women feel guilty all the time spending any time on self-care. And I'm sure men do as well. They have mixed messages, bless them as well.
Men have a harder time admitting it. That's all. It's okay.
Exactly.
It's
okay. It's been fantastic chatting to you. Perhaps you could tell people where they can learn more about you, Lois, if they want to get more. You've got a special gift. You've got gift number 1, haven't you? And you're in the bonus section. You're going to share more, but you got gift number 1. So tell people where they can find you. What's your website address?
Okay. Thank you, Wendy, so much. My website is filled with videos that you can look at and get more of an understanding of what I am saying.
Brilliant.
It's Lois Hollis, LoisHollis.com.
Fantastic. Well, we'll have links. We'll have links underneath this so people can reach you and things as well. And you've got a special gift for people, haven't you?
And since my information is new, people go, oh, I love to have a session with you, but I don't think I can commit because this is so different.
Yeah.
And so I offer a free 15-minute session. So people can, we talk and just talking and we just, chit chat, and they can understand where I'm coming from. Some people just say, I dreamt about you last night and I want to work with you. So, I mean, it's all shades of gray.
Yes.
Also, I have an ebook on my website, and with the sign up and email, and I did it that way is because it's called 500 Questions Have One Answer. And it's very difficult to get 500 questions in one email. Someone says, really, Lois? People are going to turn that off. So I put 20 segments of 25 questions. So people will get this information for 2 or 3 months.
Fantastic.
And that is if someone wants to learn more, that is the way to go. Yeah. Because you will get information at a drip rate and understand how it's pandemic. Now that's a pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm declaring it. I'm declaring it.
Well, that's fantastic that you're offering a free ebook and a free 50-minute session with people now. In the bonus section, we're going to talk a little bit more, but I just firstly want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing this. I think it's a really important message at a really important time for people who might just be drowning in fear and anxiety and guilt and shame and not even know that there are names to how they're feeling. So thank you so much. And for those who are listening and watching, I hope you have enjoyed hearing about Lois, and we're obviously going to have more guests on in the next few days. So make sure to subscribe and make sure to get your calendars all set up, and we look forward to seeing you on the next interview. Thank you so much, Lois.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you.
Here's your story, let's begin. The water's fine, come on, dive in. The future's here, it's right before your eyes. Step by step, you're on your way. Welcome to a brighter day. Don't you know it feels good to be alive? You could be alive.